Welcome to the Flynn Brothers podcast. I'm John.
And I'm Jimmy. Today's big idea: I don't get overalls and fundraising emails. It's all coming up. But first, here's the Solons.
Uh-huh. Oh yeah. 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 Uh-huh. Oh yeah.
All right, it's time for another edition of everybody's favorite game, I Don't Get. We're just going to get straight into it, buddy. Take it away.
I don't get why the Monday after the Super Bowl is not a holiday. Now, this is an observation based on this year's Super Bowl. Next year, it will. President's Day will come the day after the Super Bowl.
Because, the next year's Super Bowl, it's on Valentine's Day,
Yes.
right? Which is very bizarre, all these events occurring in a 2-day span.
Yes, I think that is a mistake. And even though it won't always be on Valentine's Day, the Super Bowl won't always be on Valentine's Day if it stays where it's at. I think, obviously, that's wrong. It puts too many couples in an impossible position. And, you can't expect a man to be like, oh, honey, I'm blowing off the Super Bowl for you. And you can't expect a woman to be, I'm blowing off Valentine's Day to watch the Super Bowl.
Right.
It's just those two, they have no place being on the same day. It's all wrong. They're completely separate ideas. So, what I think we should do is we should keep the Super Bowl where it was this year and move President's Day. Now, President's Day is already a weird holiday because it used to be George Washington and Abraham Lincoln's birthday used to be separate holidays. And then they just decided, let's combine them and call it President's Day. So it's already a mishmash holiday that has no reason for being where it is. So I say, let's move it after the Super Bowl. Let's turn the Super Bowl into what it really already is, a national holiday, a feast day, if you will, where we all get together and we celebrate the one thing that still brings Americans together, eating huge quantities of food and football.
You're forgetting a very obvious point here, and you need to say why it is that you want the day after the Super Bowl to be a day off. This is what you are not communicating to the people. Why do you want the day after the Super Bowl to be a day off? It's very clear, but I think you need to make it clear.
It's a day of indulgence, of imbibement. You should be allowed to have a day afterwards to fully recover and sort of, take stock of yourself and feel the self-loathing that you need after such a day.
I guess if I were to play devil's advocate, the Super Bowl is already a slothful day. Most people begin drinking very early, drink until late. At least on the West Coast, the Super Bowl is usually in the middle of the afternoon. 3:30 is usually kickoff, whereas East Coast, it's 6:30. I think the day off after the Super Bowl makes a lot more sense if you are living on the East Coast, because you are having it go basically to probably 10:30, 11 o'clock, and then whatever. It's like you'd have to get ready for the next day, and I don't know. But West Coast, you're kind of over with by 8 o'clock. So even if you've been indulging through the day and through the Super Bowl, you have at least a couple hours to pull yourself together before you got to go to bed. So is it something where is it so crazy that we could have it based on if you're in the Central time zone and East Coast time zone, you get the day off? Or maybe it's something, how about this? I think a day off is too slothful because you're saying you need the day of recovery, which I think is true, but the day of the Super Bowl is already so indulgent and sinful. Perhaps what the Monday after the Super Bowl should be is a late start day. Maybe
For
could
everybody?
we, for everyone. School, you start at 10 o'clock. Work, you start at 10 o'clock. Grocery stores, 10 a.m. Coffee shops, even they are a little later. I don't know. Is that a fair compromise? Or you really believe it should be day off? Because part of being an adult is if you indulge on the weekend, you got to get your ass up Monday morning. That's just, it is what it is.
Well, it's two-prong in that President's Day already is a malleable day you can move around.
Okay.
To me, this is a classic Trump second presidency decision. Just moving when President's Day is. I feel like that's something he could knock out no problem, high approval rating. The other thing that I am willing to propose is obviously football is traditionally played on Sunday. However, the NFL has broadened the days of the week that it is being played on. So I would also accept as a compromise, let's move the Super Bowl to a Saturday. Is that all wrong?
The traditionalist in me feels that is all wrong.
All
I mean,
right.
Sunday is football day.
All right, well then-
it is like the Sabbath. It's like, would you go to mass on a Tuesday? I mean, sure, people do, but Sunday's the mass day, right?
Sure.
And if you're a good red-blooded American, you're going to mass and then you're coming straight home and getting pissed up and watching the Super Bowl, right?
Yeah, so fair enough. It does buck tradition. It is right to have it be on a Sunday. So that's just what I think. I think, hey, move it. Why not?
Yeah, I think
Why
it's,
not?
I look, would I turn down a day off? No, I wouldn't. I kind of like the idea of it after the Super Bowl. It does feel a little indulgent. I'd maybe push for maybe the late start versus the full holiday. I just think part of being an adult, you got to get your ass up Monday morning. It's no different than any other day. You can cut loose on any Sunday you want. So Super Bowl, you gotta wake up and make it happen.
Bread and circuses, I say. And I want the American government to stand behind Super Bowl Sunday and give the American people a day off they so richly deserve.
Fair enough, buddy. Fair enough. All right, my turn. I'm also going to do a sports one.
Oh,
Is that okay?
Yeah, please.
I don't get college sports.
Oh, wow.
Who cares?
Whoa.
They're not as good as the professionals. I think, too, my biggest issue with it, that's the main reason, right? That's what anyone says. But my main reason is kind of this modern day Wild West we live in with the NIL and the transfer portal. Now, look, pre-NIL days, let's call college sports what it was. It was slavery, right? It was the owners and these schools and the media companies making hundreds of millions, billions of dollars on the backs of these students who were not being compensated at all, right?
Owners, you mean athletic directors?
Yes, yeah, right. Quote, yeah. Watch the South Park episode that does it so well. But yeah, to me, like we've already gotten away from the fact that there's any educational component at all with these students, right? I remember being a TA in college, and there were players on the Santa Clara basketball team that were in the class I was TAing, and they were never in class. And Santa Clara is not exactly a powerhouse basketball school, right? It's not a Kansas or Kentucky, but I think the one and done, it's already a joke that these kids are even in quote-unquote college, and the idea that they're going to classes and, gonna graduate in 4 years and all this stuff is kind of out the window. Although you could argue that is perhaps with like the cream of the crop, one and done players who are going to become professional. There are a lot of college athletes who are there to get an education, who are there to, basically just be career college athletes that have no hopes of going professional, either because they're not good enough or the sport and discipline they're in is not like you're not able to become a professional in it. When I was in college, I barely watched any college sports. Like I went to a couple of basketball games, and, you and I went to a couple of baseball games, and they were fine. But again, it's just to my larger point, like college sports is just not as good as the professionals. It's like I don't really go to McDonald's that often because In-N-Out's just a lot better. If you have a better version of something you like and it's just as readily available, you go toward that. Is part of the reason we did not go to a football college? Maybe. Would I have liked maybe tailgating when I was 21, 22 years old, never drinking a day before that, and going to football games and spending my Saturday doing that? Yeah, I probably would have.
Of course you would. That's a gym activity right down the center.
But here's where it gets pathetic.
Oh.
Where you have 50 28-year-old
Oh.
men with big fat guts painting M for Michigan on those big fat guts, neglecting their families and getting blackout drunk and yelling at these 19-year-olds about parlays and boosters and doing it for the Wolverines. That to me is just like pathetic. I get it if you're in college and you do the whole college game day, that's fine. But even like sports commentators who like make their living analyzing and talking about college basketball, I just find it so odd and weird. And it's like, yeah, these guys are professionals, but they're also kids. And it's just, I think too, the notion of like loyalty with these schools, like these players, there's no real carryover year to year in the team. It's not like rooting for like a professional sports team where it's like, all right, a lot of these same guys are part of the core, and that we had this kind of dynasty, we had this era, now we're in another era. And the last thing I'll just say, March Madness is overrated.
Whoa.
Every single year. I get it. It's fun to do the brackets. It's fun to do the highlights and the buzzer beaters and all that stuff. But frankly, it's just a lower level of competition. It's often sloppily executed basketball. There are some teams that run really good systems, and if you like old school system basketball, it can be pretty cool. Like, the coaches are really in charge in college basketball. The players really play to the coach's system. But I don't know. March Madness for me is just much more fun in concept than reality. And then just as a little coda, the boosters, like these middle-aged men, it's just pathetic. Like, I don't know. It's like, this is what you're spending money on? You care about your college so much? Like, grow up. Like, didn't you do anything else with your life other than just obsess about your college? I just find it all so pathetic.
Boy, wow. Well, there's a lot to respond to there. I think the main thing, I think this is a classic I don't get because you can't get it. There's no way for you to get it. You didn't grow up in the shadow of one of these legendary institutions where it's the only game in the state. Like Louisiana State University, LSU, Alabama, these Georgia, these real powerhouse schools that it's ingrained in the culture. They don't have a professional sports team that they feel this deep kinship with. But there is a deep and long tradition of many great coaches, many great players who have come through this school, and it's just embedded in the community. So I think it's one of those things where because we didn't grow up in that environment, we just can't understand it.
Well, I get that. But there are so many people throughout the nation who, say were born and raised in Sacramento, who root for the Alabama Crimson Tide or the LSU Tiger, who have no connection to the school, which I just find so odd. I find it so odd that people root for these teams that they have no connection to. I understand what you're talking about in terms of community, but the fact that it's so like commercialized and people root for these teams where they have no connection and the teams turn over year for year, I just really don't get it.
All right. Well, I don't know how many people have no connection to the colleges that root for them as crazily as people who grow up suffused in the atmosphere. And then I will also say that I do agree with you. I don't very much watch college sports, and I agree that the level of competition is at a lower level, and particularly during March Madness. But what you're going for is not the highest level of execution and perfection. There is something about a sport being played well, but not perfectly, but with a great deal of intensity. And there's a lot on the line. I think anybody who's ever watched a youth sports game where they had an investment in who was out there, you can see your kid make the most haphazard, crummy layup that just luckily falls in, and you get such a thrill and a rush from it, far more than you would seeing a professional athlete make a balletic, graceful play that is, the result of years and years of training and hard work. So I actually think some of the incompetency that's baked into college sports is part of what makes it so exciting, because it's, wow, oh my God, they actually did pull it off, or that guy hit the shot, like, whoa. So I think that's part of it as well, that that's the excitement that March Madness brings. And I think also too, there's the pageantry, there's the fanfare, the pizzazz, all of the stuff that goes around it. I mean, there's a real, I think, feeling to the university universities, like an Alabama game is different from an LSU game, is it different from a Michigan game, and they're all taking place in these humongous stadiums with 100,000 people screaming their heads off as these, 19 to 23-year-olds are like, bundles of nerves, and if they can execute under those situation, it is quite impressive. But I think it's just a classic I don't get because I don't know how you could get it.
How about, though, the middle-aged men, the big guts, the Michigan M on their tummy? You find this cool. You find this enviable.
Well, I didn't say that necessarily, but I do think that there is something, perhaps a bit arrested development about
honey, I can't do chores at home. I got to go with 80,000 teenagers and get drunk and yell about parlays.
I don't know if these are married men who are leaving happy, stable home lives, tousling their kid on the head as they finish off the M on their
Honey, can you outline the blue M and yellow so I get both colors in there?
Yeah, I don't know.
Not to pick on Michigan. It could be any college.
The A for Alabama, the G for Georgia.
S for Stanford.
Yeah, whatever. I don't really do the face painting or body painting. I'm okay on all of that. But I understand a bit of the college pageantry.
The other thing I'll say is it being, we talked about football on a Sunday, end of the week, you're getting ready for Monday, you're kind of taking it easy. Saturday's like, if you're going to do anything on a weekend, it's on your Saturday. And I just don't get sitting around all day watching college football.
Then you do
Friday
stuff
night,
on Sunday.
Yeah, I guess. But then again, it's the day before Monday, and you just talked about needing Monday off and bread and circuses. I don't get it. I'm never going to get it.
You don't get it.
It's EDM. I'm never going to get it. What do you want from me?
There you go. I guess for you to stop talking so I can go. No. All right, here we go. I've got the next one. You ready?
Go for it.
All right. Now, I want to preface this, I want everybody to take this in the spirit. Go along with me on this, if you will. Don't take this in bad faith,
this
is what I'm saying.
Kind of controversial.
It could be a little controversial.
Okay. All right.
I don't get chopsticks.
Whoa,
Now listen,
buddy.
Listen,
buddy,
I
careful.
use chopsticks in the Asian restaurants.
Yeah.
After 30 years of using them, am still not entirely sure if I'm using them right. And I look at the little diagram on the side of the chopsticks every time. I feel like it's like, when you were a kid and you're like in school and there would just be those kids who would hold pencils all wrong. For whatever reason, they hold them all wrong.
Clenched fist.
I think my chopstick holding is just on the wrong finger somewhat. I probably use chopsticks, between 10 and 30 times a year, perhaps.
Okay.
So it's not like I'm in good practice with them.
Yeah.
And look, I understand the culture. I'm just no good with them.
Right.
I'm not as good. I'm a shoveler. I'm a guy who likes to get it into my mouth as fast as I possibly can. And chopsticks, I think, to their credit, sort of encourage a more mindful style of eating. And if you will, buddy, I did a little bit of research here. If I could put a John's Brief History into an I Don't Get,
please,
sort of a crossover of our two hit segments.
It's like when they do Chicago PD, Chicago Fire, Chicago Hospital. Yeah.
That's
Go
right.
For it.
So apparently chopsticks were originally used more as like a cooking tool for something that you would use to like move something over a fire, which kind of makes sense to me very much. And they also became a popular eating utensil in Asia because A, the rice is glutinous and so it sort of sticks together, so it's a good way to pick things up. And B, food is typically pre-cut. It's cooked over, hot fires, but you're not getting huge steaks or like big cuts of meat where you need a fork and a knife.
Wow.
So for that, I do understand. However, I live in a Thai town part of Los Angeles where chopsticks are the default utensil at my favorite Thai restaurant, and I use them, and I eat a little bit more mindfully. But I gotta say, I would love to be able to, just get a fork without seeming like a xenophobic jingoist, white invader of their culture. I still want to appreciate their culture. I will have the food be spicier, than I'm typically having. I want all of the authenticity. Can I have that and also eat it with the utensil that I use all of the time?
Yeah, a quick story to go on top of yours, and then we'll dive into it. I was at a Japanese restaurant recently, and I was eating a bento box, and I had gotten the rice, and I was eating it very easily with the chopsticks. Like you said, it clumps up nicely. But then I was like, the rice is a little plain. I want to get some sauce on it, so I put some sauce on it, and then it made it less sticky. It didn't clump together, and I was trying to just do one grain at a time. My fiance was like, this is just pathetic watching this, and she was like, ask for a fork, and I was like, nah, I don't want to insult them. Just be a pathetic, like you said, xenophobic, jingoistic American. Yeah. She said, excuse me, miss, to the waiter, could you please bring a fork? And then she kind of hands it to me, and I felt like gave me a look, but probably didn't. I just was shoveling it into my big fat American gullet. Yeah. And I will say this, as you know, you and I, we eat fast, we eat a lot. I a bigger pig than you, but honestly, if I wanted to lose weight, I would really force myself to eat everything with chopsticks, oatmeal, even the healthy stuff, Greek yogurt. It really does slow you down. It makes you more mindful. It makes you focus more on each bite. I like when you go to a restaurant and they give you the option. I would also say, to pat ourselves on the back as a couple of white guys who try our best. I would say we're above average at using chopsticks. I would say you and I both do a good job. But, there's a lot of white people I know who are just no good at using chopsticks and watching them fumble. And, as you get older, there's old people, you're less hand-eye coordinated, you're arthritic, whatever the case may be. I think it's a good option to give you both. But yeah, it part of it is like when you go to a Thai restaurant or a Japanese restaurant, it's authentic. You want to kind of, all right, I'm playing by their rules. It's their food, their rules. If you don't want to play by the rules, you can go to another restaurant, but this is part of the authentic experience. You go to a Moroccan restaurant, hey, you might sit on the floor, you might eat with your hands, right? It's just part of the game, right? Yeah. So it's like, if you don't want that, don't go there. But look, if you're going to an authentic joint and you really want authenticity and you want that flavor, that's part of what you got to do. So to me, is it necessarily ideal in terms of how fast and voraciously I want to consume food? No, but you got to play the rules of the game.
Yep. No, I agree with it. And, I'll suffer through, but I just, I would love if, there is something that's part of it too, where it's just maybe you should be made to feel a little like, I'm kind of on foreign soil here. Yes, this isn't my home turf. I gotta kind of adjust to them. And I think it's an eye-opening thing as well. But again, it's not my utensil of choice.
It's an away game. You gotta try to win somehow.
That's right.
All right, more stuff we don't get when we come back.
If I may, to go on to add one final point to my last, I'd like to quote the great Jerry Seinfeld.
Oh, okay.
I'll tell you something about the Chinese. Really hanging in there with the chopsticks. That, I think, is one of my favorite Seinfeld bits.
It's so brilliant because when he tells it, he says, I'll tell you something about the Chinese. And he holds the pause and it gets like really uncomfortable. And then he says, they're really hanging in there with their chopsticks. So it's like you get a laugh at the setup and the punchline.
Yeah.
And then I think the next line is, they've seen the fork. That's so great, man.
That's an all. I'm sure Seinfeld maybe, I wonder how Seinfeld is with a pair of chopsticks.
Probably pretty good.
Yeah,
he's been, he lives in New York. A lot of great Chinese, Japanese food there. And,
sure.
Seems like a worldly fella. But anyway, I'm sure he's honored that we were ripping off his material.
Wow, it was quoted.
Quoting. Sorry.
We didn't put it forth as our own.
No. We didn't claim authorship. All right. I don't get overalls. Now, let me be specific here. Yeah. I am talking about these type of people wearing overalls. The people in our neighborhood, Los Feliz. The people in the adjacent neighborhood, Silver Lake. I'm talking about the pretentious, white, hipster coffee shop crowd. It's these people who are trust fund kids, cosplaying as poor and working class. To me, it is disgraceful. And you did a little brief history of chopsticks. I'm going to give you a brief history of overalls.
Oh.
Historically, overalls were for these people. First, enslaved people, then railroad workers, then people in the Great Depression. It is absolute stolen valor for pretentious white, or even if they're not white, you are white if you are wearing overalls as a fashion statement. And I'll say this, we've done this distinction before with an I don't get between men and women, right? We did it with adding stuff to your coffee, and we said, okay for women, but for men, we judge a little harsher. I'm the same way with overalls. When women are wearing them, it's okay. I cannot count the amount of women I saw pictures of in textbooks growing up from the 80s and 90s who were wearing overalls and had the Rachel from Friends haircut. Whatever. It's a fashion statement. It's cute if you're a new mom. Whatever. Go for it.
White tank top underneath.
Go for it.
Yeah.
White t-shirt even. I don't care. I really don't care. Men? Oh. You gotta be kidding me. And the overalls cousin, the boiler suit, the jumpsuit, these men who want to dress like they work in a boiler room, they're shoveling coal, they're custodians. It is disgraceful to me. The perfect level of stubble and the beanie and the overalls or boiler suit. I think more highly of the dirt I wipe on a welcome mat off my shoes. I think more highly of shoe dirt than I do of men wearing overalls as a fashion statement. I truly mean that. And the last thing I'll say, they are denim jammies. Overalls are denim jams, okay? They are not an outfit. They are beneath casual. The other thing, like, farmers don't even wear them. Like, even if I saw a farmer wearing overalls, I would think they were playing a character, right? So overalls, I don't get it. I don't use the words like disgraceful and shoe dirt lightly, but I am using them in the context of people, specifically men, wearing overalls when they should be city dwellers, I guess, wearing overalls. If you're out in the country, I'm a little suspicious. I mean, for God's sakes, we had a farm, our family had a farm. We didn't see a lot of overalls back in the day, right? It's just not something that is typically worn. I just find it abhorrent.
First off, I have to say that the coffee shop crowd really takes some slings and arrows on these I don't gets. I think we also went after people wearing big pants.
We've lived in Los Feliz too long.
yeah, perhaps. And whose fault is that? Is it theirs? I don't know.
Right. We moved to their habitat.
Yeah, exactly. You're gonna be upset that there's trees in the jungle. I don't know. So I have never owned a pair of overalls. I do.
You're not a prick.
Distinctly remember one of the ways I met a girl who would later become my girlfriend was my opening line was I complimented her on her wearing a pair of overalls. So they do hold some place of fondness in my heart. Although, I think for the reasons that you have laid out, I don't know if I question the masculinity quite as strongly as you do of men in overalls.
What do you think of a man wearing overalls? If you invited a man over to your house for, say, I don't know, a Super Bowl party, and he came wearing overalls, what would you think of him?
I think they have a time and place. I think you can wear them, for instance, to like a outdoor event of some sort. Yeah, like a music festival. I think they're kind of a fun, I'm not saying that I like, you're not a music festival guy. This isn't your world, Anyway,
okay,
I will say this.
I got my MDMA, I got my water bottle, I got my overalls. Let's go to Coachella. These are people you want to be friends with.
You're putting words in my mouth. But I will say the bathroom situation with a pair of overalls, I think, is something you may be overlooked, and especially for a man or a lady, that I don't think it would be very pleasant. Those got to go on the ground, and then they're going back on your shoulders. I don't really know. You take care of that. There is something folksy and appealing about the look. I myself
For a
have
lady,
never.
for a lady, or you're saying for anyone?
Well, I don't know. That could be kind of a fun garment to put on. I feel like
Yeah.
you actually would look pretty good in a pair of
I
overalls.
don't deny it. Cover up my gut. I don't deny
Yeah.
it at all.
Well, that's it. You don't have anything cinching your waist. It's maybe the one pair of pants. You have no cinch on the waist. You're hanging them from your shoulders. It's sort of like suspenders. I don't know. You dangle one strap jauntily off a shoulder.
I'm sick to my stomach. You're okay with men wearing overalls. That
Well-
to me is I'm gonna start thinking you're disgraceful. Again, I don't use that word lightly.
I don't. I think maybe you do actually.
I've used it many times.
Yeah,
in the past few minutes.
I think I do. I agree with your stolen working class valor. I do think it's silly that people dress up like painters to do laptop jobs. That for sure is a little bit silly. But overalls.
You've never had a male friend in your life who wore overalls, have you?
I think I had a roommate in college who maybe had a couple of pairs, and he was an
quirky
okay
fella?
guy.
He was a quirky
he
fella. I
was
kinda
sort of
remember
a
you
he was
talking
sort of
about.
a party boy. I think I can see a party,
Party
boy.
boy.
Party boy. If you got kind of a gut, but you got good arms, then an overall's a
All
good
the
outfit for
pockets
you.
for the drugs,
Yeah,
the money. Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
So they're kind of a fun item. You can't wear them more than 5 times a year. Then you
Oh,
become
God.
Mr. Overalls. But
Every other month.
I'm not absolutely opposed if it's some sort of fun outdoor event.
I-
If we're having a picnic, you want to wear a pair of
Oh,
overalls.
God. Maybe a costume party. When I walk by a fella in overalls outside a coffee shop, this is out loud. I can't help it. I truly cannot bottle it up. I just go, or just I can't help but make those sounds when I see it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Can't. Why you're leaving the house in that?
Yeah, you're kind of doing a Maniscalco here.
I mean, no.
Have you
what do you think?
seen these people
What do
in
you
the
think?
overalls?
What do you think Sebastian Maniscalco would think? He would eviscerate
I would-
overalls, wouldn't he?
I'd listen to 5 minutes from Maniscalco
Oh my
on
God,
overalls.
man. Oh my
Absolutely.
God. I can't do it.
Yeah, I
really
get you.
can't.
I hear you.
I can't budge. I can't budge.
Don't budge.
I try to be a more empathetic person, but
I'm not so sure about that one either. I think you've been kind of lying on this
you're
pod.
thinking I am a pathetic person.
yeah. Yeah.
Fair enough.
All
All
right.
right. Well, let me get my heart
your
rate
head on
down.
straight
Why
here.
don't you do yours?
This one's a little bit more perhaps serious.
Oh.
And I'm going to. I don't get the fundraising emails from Democrats. And I maybe should rephrase that because I should say I get way too many fundraising emails from Democrats. Now, I'm going to
You lib.
I'm going to kind of spread out here a little bit. These emails, everyone has gotten them. If you're a lib, your email has been sold off to the highest bidder a million different times. I don't know how they've gotten my email, but I'm getting them from all over the country, and they're always very panicked and poorly formatted. Like they seem to be directed towards, I would guess, boomers, because they're sort of in this sort of boomer HTML style. It's always this rhetoric at an extremely fever pitch voice. It's like, we are on the brink of disaster and it can only be avoided if you give me $5. And so
Right.
it just feels like very boy who cried wolf.
It's like a homeless guy tactic.
Yeah.
I need $5.
Yeah. I need $5 to the aliens are going to invade the planet. I'm the only one who can stop them. But I used to give them occasionally. I would read them, and I would be sort of moved by the candidate's story, and I would give $5 here, $5 there, and eventually I would follow these races, and I was like, this guy stood no effing chance. Like they're going up against Ted Cruz, and I'm like, I don't like Ted Cruz. Yeah, let's get Ted Cruz out of office. And the guy stood no chance, and he gets blown out by 20 points. And I think part of it is there's a consultant class that, you know, you need to fund these things, and there's people who, I think there are good advisors and there are good consultants, and then I also think there are people who are sometimes taking candidates for a ride and are using politics for less than noble means and sort of making their money off of it. And I somewhat know this because I worked on a political campaign, and I think the more evil thing about this is that there really isn't any other solution with the way that politics are currently set up. For people who don't know, if you want to run for office, very little of what you do is like going to town halls or going to community meetings and greeting people one-on-one and shaking hands and talking to them. What you are expected to do as a candidate for political office, for anybody who's thinking of running out there, is you are supposed to, every day for 3 to 4 hours, call everybody that you know, anybody that you can possibly think of, and ask them to give you money. And there is no other way to win an election because of the perniciousness and widespread influence of money in politics. And I mean, you know, Elon Musk is capable of giving, you know, hundreds of millions of dollars to the Trump campaign and whoever else he wants. And, you know, the Supreme Court has rolled back all of these different guardrails that we had on money in politics. And sadly, you know, the way that I think well-intentioned person has to combat this is by hitting up people all around the country constantly for small amounts of money. And this really started, who did this start with?
Bernie, right?
Bernie.
Yeah.
And this happened when I was in college, and I remember being truly inspired and motivated by it. And I gave Bernie money when I was in college because I was like, yeah, man, $25, if we all pitch in, we can actually really make a difference here. And I mean, Bernie Sanders obviously has a huge impact on politics. It wasn't really rewarded with sort of the national level of, you know, green light that he probably deserved. But I think it has inspired it in a sort of tough way where it's sort of, to me, if I'm to make a comparison, and maybe I'm the first person ever to do this, the way LeBron James started treating himself like a corporation in the NBA, and then every other NBA player started doing that. You're not LeBron. You're not LeBron. 17th, 18th, 20th best player in the league. There's only one guy who this really works for. And so that's kind of how I feel about it too. I mean, there's a few other candidates who, you know, I think can still do this small donor thing, but yeah, I mean, it's tough because these emails, the other thing too is it's like a game of whack-a-mole in my inbox. I can't unsubscribe from them fast enough. And every time I do, there's more that come and replace them. And it just makes me weary and downtrodden and tune it out when I really don't think that I should be doing that, but that is the impact that it has.
You'll get multiple a day from the same person who may not even be currently campaigning. I guess, though, nowadays you're always campaigning, right? You're always running for re-election. I think the comparison of the boy who cried wolf is really apt, where it's like you really need to be a little pickier and choosier about when you're asking for money. Most people are going to donate like probably within like 6 months of the election, right? It's going to be like in the lead up to it. But your point about not everyone being Bernie, now, you know, Bernie's big thing was, you know, my average donor gives whatever, $12.50 or whatever it was, right? Just some very small amount. And then now that's the badge of honor for like every liberal progressive candidate. And that's very cool. But I do agree too with the red alert, just like danger level 1,000 rhetoric. It just, again, it's boy who cried wolf. It's just like, it's like, this is a breaking point in our country's history. And it's like, yeah, it's kind of true, but it's like also no. And, you know, just like if you say that in every email, then it just kind of loses its teeth. So I agree with you for the most part. I think, you know, from their point of view, it's a necessary evil. It's a shotgun approach. You know, you for most people, it takes repeating something 7 times, I think, on average, until someone learns it finally, whether it's someone's name or a fundraiser, an email, and I got to donate. So I get it as a necessary evil, but yeah, I have found myself unsubscribing from a lot that send me like 3-4 a day because it's just too much.
Yeah, it is. It's tough. I mean, and it's not even like personal. Like it's just your email got out there. Because I know this because I worked on a political campaign, and one of my first goals as a person who was working on the campaign was to get the word out about our campaign as quickly as possible. And so I came upon a list of people who would prospectively donate to the campaign. This is my greatest moment of personal shame. I'll share it on the podcast.
Sure.
I accidentally took all of these emails and put that in the to section of an email instead of the BCC, and I started reply all calypse, and it was the likes 1,000 people all on the same chain, all saying, take me off of this chain, and then people would be like, if you would just stop responding, we would do that. We would no longer see this. And then you get another person, how come I'm receiving all of these emails? And it was just on and on and on. So I am responsible for the all-time worst fundraising email ever.
I would say.
Yeah,
I
ever.
would say, yeah.
But, this is why, perhaps I have some personal animus because I bungled my attempt at one of these so badly. So anyway, I learned a lesson, though, certainly. And I was able to undo the damage. I was able to, pull the plug on the email and then sent an apology that nobody cared about, which was hilarious as well.
What if one of these liberal candidates sending you these emails, what if their thing was they wore overalls? Did you donate? Did you vote for him?
No, I would not. It's the other thing too is it's so hard to like stand out. I feel like on these, like there's only maybe one I see a year where I'm like, oh wow, that actually kind of cuts through. Like so many of them,
that's rounding up.
Yeah,
too.
yeah. So many of them are just like focus grouped, and it feels like from another time. Like it almost doesn't feel like it meets the moment. I don't know. In general, it feels like a lot of people aren't meeting the moment.
Last one for me.
Sorry to, bring it down here.
No, it's okay. I'll bring it back up. This is perhaps the broadest, most relatable I don't get that we've ever gotten.
Wow.
I don't get people who are always late.
Oh, wow. Now we're talking.
This is not exactly groundbreaking. I don't think even people who are late don't like people who are late.
Right. If they happen to be on time for once.
Me, I'm habitually punctual. You know this. Yeah. I am, if something matters, I am never late. I'm frequently there a couple minutes early. Occasionally, if it's like a birthday party or 50 people are coming, I'll show up fashionably late as you do. But for the most part, I am early, and that to me is on time. I just find it so aggravating, and I think it's because of how easily fixable it is. Just leave a couple minutes earlier. We're teachers. We've dealt with habitually tardy students. We've dated people who are always late, had friends who are always late, all this stuff, and it just is so correctable. I have to shout out a fan of the podcast, one of my great friends. I was his roommate freshman year and senior year. He's a very handsome Latino gentleman. I don't need to go about saying his name, but he was someone, and he'll admit this, who at least in college was habitually late. And I would notice this. He would go late to all his classes, and he would like sometimes be ready and could leave and could be on time, but he would kind of just like dilly-dally occasionally, and then just like sort of show up late just because it was sort of the habit, right? And so I think there are people who are like that, who just like, they just kind of prefer coming late. They like kind of just the thing to be going, and then they just show up. There's a lot of people who, if you say the thing is at 10 o'clock, 10 o'clock hits, and then they start getting ready, where it's like, no. You start getting ready at 9:30. You're out the door by 9:35. You're there by 9:50. You make a quick phone call or do something. You walk in at 9:55, like you weren't there even earlier, right? Like you just need to be early. And I think, what the central issue with people who are late and people who are early is when you come late, you're essentially communicating to the person who is earlier on time, my time is more valuable than yours, right? You got here early, sap. You just sit around and wait for me, wait for the king, wait for the queen to show up. And to me, a lot of the time when I see it as I get older and older, it just feels like when I see it in people and it's habitual, it feels like kind of a sign of immaturity or just bad time management. And it's just something that a younger person does. It's just something that is, you're still a young adult, which again, my roommate in college, whatever, it's college. It's a class he was doing fine, and who cares, right? You're still a good buddy. But like, it is just like, to me, as you get older, like, especially when it's like grown adults and you're always late. The only excuse I can really think of is you have like 3, 4, 5 kids and you're always having to like round them together and whatever. You show up to church 10 minutes late and got to stand in the back. It's like, whatever, you got 3, 4, 5 kids. It's tough to corral them all, right? But yeah, man, people who it's just them and they're always late. I don't get it. And it really, really aggravates me.
Yeah, it's indicative of sort of an irresponsibility,
Right.
I suppose. It's, you have to be able to budget your time. And I think the other side of it is, if you're early, you can still dilly-dally.
Oh,
like, if
yeah.
you take care of all of what you need to do, dilly-dally while you're there.
Right.
Dilly-dally at the location. I think, some people despise the idea of waiting around for something to begin.
Right.
But, yeah, man, show up on time. Be punctual. If you invite people over, be prepared. Or, at the very least, be prepared to take a ribbing about how you're always
Yes.
late or how
You-
you're unprepared.
You gotta just we gotta be able to just make fun of you
Yeah.
if you're always late,
Yeah.
and you gotta be late, Louie, or just hey, there's there he finally showed up.
Oh.
Look who decided to grace us with his
Yeah.
presence. Like you cannot be sheepish.
Yeah.
You cannot be like, hey guys, come on, don't do that.
Yeah.
It's like you gotta just accept it. It's like if you're gonna be one of those douchebags who's always late, then you gotta just accept it and let everyone who's on time rib you.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, it's tough. You can't be late. You can't be late.
You get why I don't get it.
I get that.
because you don't get it.
I don't get it. I'm also on time. I would say I'm a little bit less on time. I live in fear of your wrath for when I am late, and I value my brother's time. If we're ever doing something together, my brother, he's no stranger of letting me know if I'm even 2 minutes late.
Yeah, so I've pulled up to your place before, and you were supposed to be outside waiting. I like when I'm picking someone up, you're outside waiting.
Yeah.
I'm not sitting outside your place waiting for you to amble down the
Right.
steps. You're outside waiting, and I've pulled up, and you're not there. All caps. I'll text you, I'm here. Where is he? You know?
Particularly if you're picking somebody up, it's like you got your stuff
Yes.
together 5 or 6 minutes
Yes.
earlier. It's like,
Yes.
what if the shoe was on the other foot?
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, nice one. Good one.
6 really good ones, buddy.
Wow.
And when we come back from the break, got a fabulous new game I like to call Kiss or Pinch. Well, today is St. Patrick's Day, and to ring in this lovely Irish holiday, a couple of Irish brothers, us, the Flynn brothers,
Yes.
I guess it's clear.
Less Irish than our last names are, but Irish nonetheless.
Irish nonetheless. We're going to play a game called Kiss or Pinch, of course, based on the St. Patrick's Day tradition, where if you were Irish or wearing green, you get a kiss, and if you're not wearing green, you get a pinch. And it's sort of like the Thanksgiving time. We did an episode called Gobble or Squabble. Kiss or Pinch, same thing as Gobble or Squabble. You either like this thing or you hate this thing. And we're going to be running through different St. Patty's Day traditions, and you tell me kiss or pinch. Sound good, buddy?
Sounds good. Sounds also like the way that a man in the 50s would greet his secretary. All right, here we go.
All right, sweetheart. Kiss or pinch? Kiss or pinch? Eating corned beef and cabbage on St. Patrick's Day.
That's a kiss. I love a good corned beef. I really enjoy it. And I like cabbage, too. I eat cabbage more than I eat corned beef, considering that I like corned beef much more than I like cabbage,
Well,
of course.
I think your doctor's probably after
Yeah.
you eat cabbage more than corned beef. Let me ask you this, though. Kiss or pinch eating corned beef and cabbage that have been boiled together, as is tradition on St. Patrick's Day?
Now that I'm sort of a little less enthused by, although I do love the, once a year. It's kind of like Thanksgiving, right? It's like I should eat this on this
Yes.
day.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. I think for me, when I do a corned beef, I kind of do a boil sort of in the crock pot. And then the best way is you kind of do a dry rub or even like kind of a mustard wet rub on it. And then you kind of finish it off in the oven. And it gets kind of a nice glaze. And then I can't do boiled cabbage, so you and I, we like to kind of saute it. You could add some mustard, some vinegar, really give it a nice bite. That's really tasty.
Get a little bit of that jus from the pot,
Absolutely.
get it in there,
the
give it
salinity.
that. Yeah,
that's
exactly.
delicious. How about those boiled potatoes? You like those on St. Patrick's
That's
Day?
a pinch. I'm not much into boiled potatoes. That's a
boring.
bad. What are you doing? There's
It's
so many.
Irish, though. It's Irish,
Yeah.
isn't it? You got to eat the stuff boiled and
Yeah.
flavorless. Is that part of the
Right,
tradition?
Right. I'll give it is incredible that the Irish, being known for potatoes, don't have like a bunch of great potato recipes
what
that they're
about
famous for.
shepherd's pie?
Well, sure, but like they should have all different ways of roasting and
Yeah,
frying,
true.
and
the
they
French,
should.
the French
Yeah.
really Lyonnaise
Why?
and fries.
Why
and,
the
you know.
French? It should be the Irish.
I know.
Yeah.
What can you say, buddy?
I don't know. Maybe the famine
Yeah, could be.
ruined our taste for them.
Yeah, could be. Could be. You had to take a little break from them. Kiss or pinch? Ordering a Guinness on St. Patrick's Day.
Oh God. It's a pinch. I don't want to go to a bar. I'm just kidding. It's a kiss. I mean,
There you
obviously,
go.
you gotta
There
have
you go.
you gotta have a Guinness on St. Patrick's Day. But it is a tough. It's usually a tough scene at a bar. It's a little bit more fun, almost like I will say the one great thing about Guinness that comes in a can is that they replicate the draft experience, whatever
yes,
technology
that's
they
cool.
got, where they're
They have that
releasing
little
the nitrogen.
they got that little ball in
Yeah.
there, which I think releases whatever the gas is.
Right.
I'm not going to pretend to be a scientist here.
Yeah, it's a kiss. Guinness is a great beer. It
Awesome.
looks so heavy and yet goes down as easy as a Corona.
Pretty light in alcohol too. You'd
yes.
think it'd be much stouter.
Absolutely.
And, it goes down easy. How
Nice,
about a
subtle
whiskey on
flavor.
St. Patrick's Day? You need a little whiskey on St. Patrick's
Oh,
Day.
well, you got to do it because you got to stereotype the Irish as a bunch of drunks.
And make them sound like pirates.
I
Lassie.
guess that is true.
You're doing a bit of a pirate.
Was I? thought, it was-
I don't
I
know
thought
that
I sounded just like Liam Neeson.
Yeah, I don't know that I specified, but I am kissing both
Hmm.
corned beef and cabbage and ordering a Guinness, and I suppose whiskey as
And
well.
a whiskey, too, for you.
This is kind of a meta one. Ready?
Uh-huh.
Kiss or pinch? Pinching someone who's not wearing green.
I'm kissing that. I think that's great. I like it. I think it's funny. It's like, hey, come on, we're green.
Yeah,
we're
pinch.
one tiny
Yes,
item of
yes,
green.
yes.
You know, not too hard, not in a
Yeah.
place where you shouldn't be pinching
Right.
someone.
Right,
Obviously,
the kind of dough, the flab
Yeah,
of the
the
arm,
top
or
of the
tricep.
shoulder, I
well, you
think.
want a little flesh. You can't just do
Oh,
like bone. I
I
mean, you want to get a
guess.
little pinch.
Yeah,
of
not
skin.
someone's gut. You know, not their
no,
cheek,
no.
not their tush.
Yeah.
Nothing below the belt, obviously.
It should be cheek or like the
yeah.
dough of the
Yeah,
arm.
maybe a little
yeah.
arm, maybe like bicep area.
Yeah. Even cheek, you got to be a little
You
careful
gotta be
with
careful
it.
with
People
the
don't
cheek.
like when you touch their face. I've learned they
don't.
don't like that.
They don't like it.
I would say I'm kissing that as well. I think a nice little pinch. However, if you pinch someone because you think they're not wearing green, and then they like lift up their pants and they are wearing like green socks or something like that, they get to pinch you back. I think.
I'm pinching hidden green.
Oh, really?
I don't like hidden green. I think that's silly. It's like, what do you just sneakily along for the ride
All
for the
right,
holiday?
all
You
right.
gotta have something green. I mean, it's a green shirt, a
Be
green.
proudly Irish. You
Yeah.
show up to work that morning, booze on the breath, corned beef sandwich for
Right.
lunch. I got what you're
Right,
saying.
soda bread. I mean, having a wristband, that's fine, and you show like, hey, I have it. Like, if you pull up the sock I am not okay with, or like having it deep buried underneath a shirt. You know, open that shirt up, make it clear that you're wearing green.
I forgot to add this one, but you mentioned soda bread. It's delicious. A lot of butter
Yeah.
on that. I always really love soda bread.
You know, I don't know if it's that great of a bread, but it's a fantastic vessel for butter. I gotta give it
that's true.
that.
That's
yeah,
true.
it's kind of
Most-
crumbly.
Most bread is. All right, and yet another meta one. Kiss or pinch. Telling someone, kiss me, I'm Irish.
That's a pinch. You can't get away with that.
No
That
kisses?
is- I'm not kissing. Yeah, no. I mean, you know, if it's a beautiful person who, you know, everybody wants to kiss, fine, and they're giving away kisses, whatever. You know, if it's in the spirit of it and whatnot, and everyone's consenting and all that.
I
but
don't. I
they're-
guess the problem with it is it's an imperative phrase.
Yeah.
It's a command. Right?
Yeah.
Kiss me. That is.
Yeah.
You don't want to do that, right,
Yeah.
dude? And some people will wear that on their shirt too, right? And a kiss me, it's a little too pushy.
If I will say, wearing it on a shirt, I find more playful and fun and sort of like, hey, I'm in the holiday spirit, and it's an open invitation sort of.
But what if you get a kiss from someone you may not want to kiss with? I think maybe you're not allowed to not want to kiss because you have the open invite T-shirt.
That's right. That's right. I will say. I mean, yes. So long as you're in a sound state of mind,
of course,
I suppose. Again, good faith, people. Good faith here.
Good faith.
But
chopsticks, overalls.
Right.
Good faith.
Good faith. But yeah, I think that telling somebody "kiss me, I'm Irish." I'm pinching
voice.
that. That's you got to pinch that right off there.
Yeah, I suppose it's a pinch for me as well. Kiss or pinch. Saying sláinte instead of cheers to sound more Irish.
I'm pinching that. Honestly, for, again, Irish, they have the reputation as drunks. You would think there'd be a better word than sláinte for cheers.
It's Gaelic. It's one of those Germanic-y, Celtic-y languages.
Gaelic in general, don't get me started. I mean, God, with the ugliest language there's ever been.
That could be an I don't get.
Yeah,
You don't get Gaelic.
I certainly don't get Gaelic.
You don't speak it. Well, our producer, Will Slade, he's part German. He says Prost a lot when we cheers when we're out having a cold one. We'll say sláinte occasionally. Salud. We hit up all these. What do you think? Is salud the best one, or is cheers the king of all these?
Prost sounds right to me. There's like a energy to it, like that feels like cheers. Salud is sort of beautiful. It's like to your health. Like, I like that. Yeah. Sláinte is just like something you say before you just fall off a bar stool.
Oh God, that's funny.
Sláinte.
That's one of your better
no
ones,
offense
buddy.
to we can say it. We're Irish.
Who cares?
The Irish you can also stereotype with impunity.
Go for it.
Yeah.
Go for it. Kiss or pinch. Believing. I can't believe I put this one. Kiss or pinch. Believing in leprechauns.
I'm kissing that. I like. I like
that.
telling keeping kids on their toes about whether or not leprechauns exist. That's hilarious. That's funny.
I think for kids it's especially fun because it's this magical creature who's like your height,
right? Who you might even be bigger than,
right, and they're it's like an elf on the shelf, right? You leave behind little pranks or little scraps of paper. Oh, the leprechaun must have left these and stuff. And does it promote stereotyping of an entire nationality of people? Maybe, absolutely.
It is fun though, because for the rest of your life, whenever you see a rainbow, you're like, there's a little a magical gremlin guy at the end of that. I don't know. You got the world deserves a little magic.
Yeah, that's right. I think that's a good lesson. I'm gonna pinch on the believing the leprechaun. That it's a little stupid to me. We're good Catholic boys, so this is a kiss or pinch. Breaking your Lenten fast on St. Patrick's Day. So for those who don't know, Lent is a 40-day period of time before Easter. It starts at Ash Wednesday, and you usually give something up between Ash Wednesday, which is usually February, to Easter, which is usually around late March, early April. And typically people give up like sugar or chocolate or booze and stuff like that. So then the one reprieve is St. Patrick's Day. So you've done it for say a month, and then on St. Patrick's Day, if you gave up alcohol, you get to have a drink, and if you gave up chocolate, you get to have a piece of cake, Hershey bar. So how do you feel? Kiss or pinch breaking that Lenten fast on St. Patrick's Day?
I'm giving that a kiss. I think it's everybody deserves a little break. I think St. Patrick would want you to do it. I also, if I may tie this back to our I don't get, I think that Super Bowl holiday, because kind of Fat Tuesday and Mardi Gras is kind of fallen out of favor in a lot of the country. It just isn't really like celebrated in a wide way the same way that Super Bowl is. I think Super Bowl Sunday should be the first time where you are allowed to break your New Year's resolution.
Oh, I like that. So you got to keep it. You got to keep it though for a month.
For a month, and if you keep it for a month, then you get to break it on that day, and then you
I like that. Most people have broken it far sooner than that.
Right.
All right, last one. Kiss or pinch. listening to Shippin' Up to Boston by the Dropkick Murphys on St. Patrick's Day.
That is a pinch. I will tell you. I'm shipping up to Boston. Yeah.
You like that one?
I do not. I liked it
Really? You
when I
don't?
heard it. The first time I heard it, I thought it was propulsive and awesome. What
It's in
has
The Departed, right?
Right, of course. What has soured me on it for life is we were at a St. Patrick's Day party at the Tam O'Shanter, and there was a cover band, and, I'll say it, I was looking around. A lot of whites at the St. Patrick's Day party, and they played Shipping Up to Boston, and it went nuts in there, and it was humiliating. I have never been more embarrassed to be a white person in my entire life than when there was 200 pasty-faced, and you look whiter because you're wearing green too, all like dancing a jig or whatever. We looked stupid. We looked terrible. It was awful. I think it's a cool song, but it has been forever soured for me because it was like an out of body experience, and I was just like, oh, we look terrible. What a shameful display this is.
God, I know the exact moment you're talking about.
We were sheepish. We were rubbing the back of our necks, edging towards the exits.
Yeah, that was a moment where I wish I had a different last name. I must confess. I'm kissing it. I remember listening to that song on an iPod when I was, probably 11, 12 years old, and just that young, whatever an electric guitar and rock music does to a boy that age. I just remember the feeling of that. So I'm okay with that song. The Dropkick Murphys, they got like a Fenway Park song they always play at the Sox games. And,
hey,
God bless them.
God
bless them. I enjoy that song.
Hey man, you make a holidays. It is funny too that is like a St. Patrick's Day song because it doesn't really have anything to do with St. Patrick's Day. It's just Irish.
Yeah, just Irish.
Yeah.
Just Irish.
It's as Irish as anything, but he can think of any song being, oh, when Irish eyes are smiling. I'll give you one thing I will kiss. Irish baritones. Like
Danny
when they
Boy.
And like they're also like there's those funny there's this humor that goes into I think a lot of these Irish singing groups that I really enjoy.
Well, buddy, how about a double pinch? Neither of us are wearing green here. You got me on my rib cage.
Yeah.
I get you on the meteor arm. And with that, please subscribe, comment, or leave a rating. Send questions, comments, or big idea suggestions to our business email, flynnbrospod@gmail.com. Thank you to our producer, Will Slade, or should we say Prost, Will Slade. And we'll see you next time on the Flynn Brothers podcast. Hey, take care, buddy.
Nobody, you take care.